Under the frozen surface of Greenland, scientists detected in the early 2000s what appeared to be an immense circular scar buried under 2 kilometers of ice. The discovery went almost unnoticed at first, nothing more than an odd radar anomaly, an arc of rock hidden from human eyes for millions of years. But gradually, as data accumulated, whispers spread through geology conferences and dark corners of the internet. Had humanity just uncovered evidence of the impact that changed the fate of civilization long before recorded history began? The story starts with an airplane slicing through the pale Arctic sky. The aircraft carries instruments that map the ice sheet using radar pulses, radio waves that bounce off the layers and return to receivers, painting a ghostly image of what lies beneath. When the data reaches Copenhagen, the lead geophysicist notices a strange circle near the edge of the Greenland ice sheet. A perfect ring roughly 30 kilometers across, perfect geometry, in the middle of one of the most chaotic landscapes on Earth rarely means coincidence. Something, perhaps a meteorite, perhaps something else, had struck the planet with unbelievable force. The place would later be called Hiawatha Crater. It would take years for anyone to truly grasp what that meant. If it was indeed an impact crater, its size suggested a meteorite a mile wide, maybe more. The collision would have unleashed energy equivalent to tens of thousands of nuclear bombs, instantly vaporizing ice, rock, and atmosphere. But what astounded researchers was not simply the scale. It was the plausible age. Sediment samples taken near the base seemed too young for comfort. Instead of dating to the age of the dinosaurs or earlier, the findings hinted at an impact no more than 12,000 years old. That date rang alarm bells. Around 12,000 years ago, the world shuddered under a sudden and violent shift in climate called the Younger Dryas. It marked the end of the last ice age, a moment of warmth abruptly yanked away by a 1,000-year plunge back into frozen conditions. The cause of that mysterious flip has never been fully explained. Some paleoclimatologists blame the collapse of vast meltwater lakes that disrupted ocean currents. But others, long dismissed as fringe theorists, spoke of cosmic fire raining upon the Earth. Could the Hiawatha discovery be the missing link? For generations, myths from different corners of the world have carried disturbing echoes of cataclysm. The Ojibwe people tell of a star that fell from the heavens, crashing into the ice and bringing fire, thunder, and then bitter cold. Ancient Sumerian fragments describe the gods casting down a flame from the sky that scoured the land. In Australian Aboriginal lore, there are tales of a fire-eye stone that brought a long winter. These are stories spread across continents and yet strangely harmonious, all recording an epoch when something from beyond the sky shattered the world of early humans. Imagine a civilization on the edge of awakening. At the end of the Ice Age, vast freshwater lakes lapped against immense glaciers. Bands of hunter-gatherers roamed an earth that was greener, filled with mammoths, giant sloths, and saber-toothed predators. In pockets of Asia, the Middle East, and the Americas, people were learning to plant seeds, to settle, to map the stars. Some theories even propose the existence of a semi-advanced maritime culture, Atlantis by another name, that flourished along coastlines that are now drowned beneath rising seas. Then, suddenly, something happened. A meteorite, perhaps composed of dense iron and nickel, hurtled toward Earth at more than 20 kilometers per second. For days before impact, ancient observers might have seen a burning object slicing across the northern horizon, shedding sparks that lit night skies. And then, on a day no one recorded in writing but that every surviving tribe would later remember in myth, the firestone slammed into the ice near what is now Greenland. The explosion would have been beyond human comprehension. Waves of molten rock and superheated steam spread outward, carving instant rivers beneath glaciers. A column of smoke and ash shot into the upper atmosphere, blocking sunlight. The blast ignited tundra and forests across thousands of miles, showering black rain over North America and Europe. When the heat faded, shockwaves traveled through the Earth's crust, rocking continents. Within months, the planet began to freeze again. Modern science recognizes the Younger Dryas as a real climatic event, but the cause remains debating. Mainstream geologists remain cautious, arguing that the crater may be older, that radioisotope measurements can be misleading. But trace deposits of platinum, microspherules of melted glass, and nanodiamonds, things that typically appear after large cosmic impacts, have turned up in sediment layers across 4 continents dated precisely to the Younger Dryas boundary. The evidence feels circumstantial and yet eerily coherent, like smoke hinting at an unseen flame. If an impact triggered that cold snap, it also might have reshaped not only the world's climate, but the story of human development itself. Thousands of animal species vanished within centuries. The great mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and mastodons of North America disappeared, the megafaunal extinctions coinciding with this mysterious climatic whiplash. Human populations scattered. In places like Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey, the first stone sanctuaries appeared soon after, as if survivors had decided to record something, to preserve a message before memory faded. Each pillar there carved with cryptic animals, lions, vultures, serpents, forming a bridge between myth and catastrophe. Some archaeologists now wonder if Göbekli Tepe's builders were survivors of that lost world, compelled to preserve fragments of a vanished civilization driven to near extinction by a cosmic disaster. The intrigue of the Hiawatha Crater deepens when you consider what lies frozen beneath the ice. Satellite imagery suggests the bedrock inside the circle is fractured and uplifted, characteristic of central peaks formed by colossal impact pressures. Meltwater channels radiate outward as if from a single explosive center. Even soil layers downstream contain traces of shocked quartz, a mineral structure that only forms under immense pressures, either nuclear explosions or meteorite collisions. Still, definitive proof demands direct access drilling into the buried basin itself. That, however, is nearly impossible in such a hostile region. Because of these challenges, the debate continues. Some scientists propose that glaciation eventually warped an older crater's features, making it appear younger. Others counter that the meltwater flux is too fresh. Beneath the scientific veneer, there's something else driving curiosity, an unspoken fascination with what such a finding means for our understanding of human history. If a celestial event truly rewrote the climate 10 millennia ago, then every timeline of civilization must shift with it. Let's linger for a moment on what would have followed. In a cold, dim sky, survivors across the northern hemisphere watched unfamiliar constellations. Nights grew longer, crops failed in regions that once flourished. Herds dwindled, forcing migrations, conflict, and the birth of new mythologies to explain the punishment from above. To ancient eyes, the catastrophe could only be divine. Thousands of years later, those memories morphed into legends of great floods, of gods descending in chariots of fire, of the sun refusing to rise. The biblical flood, the Sumerian deluge of Gilgamesh, the Hindu story of Manu rescued from the waters, all could be shared echoes of a time when the world seemed to end and begin. The thought is haunting, that the cradle of civilization emerged not in stable abundance, but in the traumatic aftermath of near annihilation. Humanity may have been forged by hardship, our myths and religions born from the shadows cast by that long-forgotten fireball. Meanwhile, climate scientists studying Greenland ice cores have discovered tiny particles of carbon and iron from roughly the same era. Within those layers, there's a sharp spike in soot, evidence of massive wildfires. These findings match what would happen if debris from an impact rained through the atmosphere, igniting forests across continents. There's also a layer enriched in iridium, the same element famously found in the layer marking the asteroid that doomed the dinosaurs. The younger, driest layer is subtler, elusive, as if the world tried to erase the evidence. Today's researchers struggle against not only the ice but institutional skepticism. Meteorite impact hypotheses often draw the attention of pseudoscience, and legitimate scientists tread carefully to avoid ridicule. But even conservative researchers admit Hiawatha is puzzling. Some agree that a younger impact remains plausible, and if confirmed, it would represent one of the most significant planetary events since the extinction of the giant reptiles. What's fascinating is how the human imagination seems to anticipate discovery. For decades before radar unveiled the crater, fringe archaeologists spoke of a missing northern impact, the strike of a skyhammer near the pole. They tied it to abrupt glacial melt, to myths of vanished lands like Hyperborea, to magnetic anomalies noted by early explorers. In the mid-20th century, pilots flying over Greenland reported compass drift they couldn't explain, although most of it was likely due to local magnetic variation. Still, the coincidences are strange. Some believe ancient maps, the famed Piri-Reis chart drawn in the 16th century, show Greenland free of ice, its shape surprisingly accurate. Could someone, long ago, have seen those coasts before they froze again? Skeptics dismiss all that as coincidence, but the eeriness remains. Technology now allows us to see through the ice in digital layers, reconstructing the landscape as it existed before the last glaciation. Below the Hiawatha Glacier might lie rivers, valleys, and perhaps artifacts of pre-glacial world yet unknown. If that region once hosted human activity before catastrophe struck, every relic would be locked in a deep-freeze tomb tens of millennia old. Imagine what might be waiting there. A stone marker, glacially scoured, engraved with symbols no linguist could decipher, melted metals fused into rock, evidence of temperatures nature alone rarely reaches, and scattered among them, the shattered bones of animals. Not all familiar. A cryptid enthusiast might wonder, could the legends of hairy giants, frost monsters, or ice trolls from Nordic folklore stem from fossil memories of survivors who clustered around that devastation? The crater itself could be the womb of countless myths, the hole from which chaos was born. As centuries passed, that trauma faded into storage. Humanity eventually forgot the reason the stars once fell. We transformed the cosmic enemy into gods and demons, forging faith from terror. When agriculture returned and early cities rose along warm river valleys, the people carried inherited tales of a world purified by ice and fire. Their priests built ziggurats and temples aligned with celestial patterns, as if to predict and perhaps prevent another heavenly wrath. The memory embedded in architecture across Egypt, Mesoamerica, and Mesopotamia might be a collective monument to a forgotten apocalypse. Consider the recurring archetype of the serpent or dragon in global myth. In Sumer, Tiamat was the dragon of primordial chaos slain by a thunder-wielding god. In Norse legend, Jörmungandr encircles the earth beneath frozen seas, destined to rise and unleash Ragnarok, an icy doom. To ancient Mesoamericans, the feathered serpent descended from the heavens bringing both knowledge and destruction. In each tale, a celestial creature falls or strikes, bringing chaos and rebirth. Perhaps our ancestors glimpsed the fiery trail of the incoming meteor and shaped it into those serpent forms writhing across the sky. Meanwhile, the physical evidence beneath Greenland slumbers. The crater lies buried beneath a sheet that is melting faster each year. Within decades, perhaps centuries, the ice may retreat enough to expose its rim. Humanity might then look upon the scar of its near extinction for the first time. And when that moment comes, questions will ignite anew. Was it chance or design that spared us? Did the gods we invented merely symbolize the blind cosmic mechanics that reset the world? Or, as some philosophers ponder, did the catastrophe itself seed civilization, giving rise to self-awareness through shared trauma? Ponder how easily it could happen again. Every year, astronomers discover new near-Earth objects, asteroids hundreds of meters wide that pass invisibly close to our planet's orbit. Some slip past detection until only after the fact. Space agencies construct survey maps, but the universe is vast. Cosmic coincidences still rule our fate. The Hiawatha event, if indeed an impact, would have been relatively small on a galactic scale, yet it would have rewritten Earth's climate for a millennium. Now picture humanity's modern world, a web of satellites, cities, and fragile infrastructure, and imagine a similar event today. A kilometer-wide asteroid striking the polar ice cap would inject trillions of tons of water vapor and soot into the atmosphere, darkening sunlight, collapsing crops, and rewiring global weather within months. That chilling scenario might mirror the dawn of the Younger Dryas. We would be forced to divide our history into before and after, just as our prehistoric ancestors once did. Back in Greenland, researchers drill shallow cores and melt samples in sterile labs. Within those icy tubes are secrets locked since the Pleistocene. Sometimes they find tiny beads of metal fused together, microscopic spheres that seem to whisper, "Something burned here long ago." In the hum of freezers and centrifuges, scientists become modern oracles, divining apocalypses from the frozen past. Each new measurement both clarifies and deepens the mystery. The data hints, teases, but never quite reveals enough for certainty. That ambiguity invites speculation, even wonder, and draws storytellers and theorists alike to fill the gap. Among those storytellers lurk darker imaginations. The internet teems with theories claiming the object that struck Greenland wasn't a meteor at all. Some insist it was an artificial craft, a long-lost relic of ancient technology gone astray. A few whisper that what lies buried under that ice is not a crater but a shattered facility, a megastructure of non-human origin. They point to the unusual electromagnetic readings detected by earlier airborne surveys as evidence. Of course, conventional science explains those as mere variations in mineral content, yet rumors persist. What if an old civilization harnessed forces we no longer understand and paid the price? Perhaps what scientists read as an impact scar is the grave of something built, not something that fell. In one remote expedition in the mid-2010s, a small interdisciplinary team landed near the Hiawatha Glacier's edge to collect sediments. They reported a phenomenon that remains officially unverified during periods of low solar angle. Faint shimmering streaks of light appeared across the ice surface, as if reflecting from something metallic below. The team attributed it to lensing effects and suspended ice crystals. But in after-hours interviews, two members confided they felt a rhythmic vibration underfoot, a deep pulse aligned with no seismic source they could measure. The data never surfaced. Perhaps the instruments malfunctioned. Or perhaps some things were better left unreported. Between science and myth lies a fertile twilight where imagination thrives. The Hiawatha Crater sits squarely within that twilight, a tangible object draped in unanswered questions. For some, it represents the proof of a cosmic impact that birthed civilization through chaos. For others, it's a geological curiosity inflated by speculation. Whichever perspective one adopts, the allure remains. Beneath the ice of Greenland sleeps an epic on continental scale, a story of heat, death, and rebirth written into stone. As global warming quickens, the ice sheet retreats centimeter by centimeter, exposing ancient landscapes unseen since mammoths roamed. Scientists racing to study them before they vanish find not only geology, but echoes of lost epochs. Each melt season reveals more rock, more clues, and in certain satellite images, patterns that look disturbingly intentional. Straight lines, right angles, ridges forming perfect hexagons, natural basalt fracturing, most say. But our eyes are wired to seek signs of design, to see meaning even in randomness. Whether artifact or coincidence, those patterns add another layer to the myth forming around the crater. Consider how the human mind processes cosmic dread. We look upward to the same stars that might one day erase us, yet we search them for salvation and companionship. The Hiawatha mystery, in its quiet, unearthed grandeur, forces us to face that paradox. If such an event happened before, and civilization still bloomed, maybe destruction and creation are cyclic partners, written into the fabric of our world. Maybe intelligence itself is born from surviving the impossible. In mythic traditions spanning the globe, rejuvenation always follows ruins. After Ragnarok, new gods arise. After the biblical deluge, a new covenant begins. After fire and ice consume the old world, out of the ashes man begins again, wiser, wary, yet still haunted. Could our ancestors, huddled around the dim embers of that post-impact winter, have felt the same? Did they sense that something vast had noticed them, struck them, and left them paradoxically awakened? Thousands of years later, we now stand equipped with technology those survivors could not imagine, capable of detecting not only buried craters but asteroids millions of kilometers away. And yet, our vulnerability hasn't changed. The sky remains indifferent. Every telescope scanning the heavens is a repetition of that ancient vigilance, the same instinct that compelled shamans to chart the stars after the old catastrophe. We are still, in essence, watching for fire. As the world debates climate change, resource depletion, and the fragility of modern systems, the story of Hiawatha becomes a metaphor as much as a mystery. Whether it marks a literal cosmic impact or simply symbolizes our fear of planetary collapse, it reminds us that nature, be it celestial or terrestrial, can alter history in an instant. In the cold silence of Greenland's ice, one can almost hear time itself breathing, waiting for another collision, another reset. Imagine standing at the glacier's rim on a moonless night. The aurora drapes the sky in green veils, dancing like the echo of that ancient explosion. Beneath your boots, 2 kilometers down, lies a ring of impact melt, a wound older than any language. The wind carries whispers through the valleys, a low harmonizing hum that could almost be words. Perhaps it's only wind resonating through fissures, but part of you senses something sentient in it, something remembering. For a moment, history, myth, and science blur, and you feel that the ground itself is aware of what happened there, aware that it might happen again. The engines of time grind slowly, preparing another chapter. Cometary debris streaks quietly through the outer reaches of the solar system unseen. In that eternal ballet of gravity and chaos, Earth is just one more participant waiting its turn in the dance of destruction and creation. If Hiawatha truly marks the last global rehearsal, then perhaps it also carries a warning carved into the crust. Survive, adapt, remember. Because those who forget the sky's fury are bound to witness it once more. When the ice finally melts and archaeologists touch the scar with their hands, they may not find alien technology or lost temples. They might find only rock, glass, and ash, mute witnesses to a day when the heavens fells. Yet even then, standing in the heart of that circle, they will feel something indescribable. The raw intersection of cosmic randomness and human destiny. And that feeling, more than any artifact, will tell the true story. It is said that history is written by survivors. The Hiawatha Crater is the penstroke of the universe itself, a reminder that survival is both fragile and eternal. Beneath that silent ice, our planet keeps a chronicle no library can contain, a tale of fire on ice, of worlds erased and reborn. And as we drift beneath the vast, indifferent stars, we belong to that story still, characters waiting for the next page to reveal whether the cosmos will spare us or start the cycle anew.